Drinker put something out recently uh, about Amy Schumer doing another crash and burn story in regards to Amy Schumer. We all know that she has just become a joke and not in the way that a comedian desires to be. So let's listen to the drinker break it down in his classic, gloriously drunken fashion, shall we?
If ever there was a celebrity destined for a crash and burn episode, it was her. Just a few years ago, she was one of the most popular female comedians of all time, with a string of successful stand-up tours, movie deals, Netflix specials, endorsements, fawning magazine articles, and all the apparatus of the Hollywood industrial complex behind her. A woman who was not only theoretically funny and a box office draw, but an outspoken feminist and activist who somehow managed to position herself behind every major trend and movement that looked to be gaining traction. But it turns out that Amy Schumer's towering empire was built on a shaky foundation of stolen material, questionable talent, high-profile controversies, a massively inflated ego, box office flops, and extremely shitty personal conduct.
And I will tack on to that a massive level of self-depreciation here. Like the vast majority of her humor was basically punching down on herself. That's something to take note of. Like there's self-depreciating humor and it can work with comedians. The problem was her entire fucking shtick was punching down on herself the whole damn time. And when it first happens, it can be funny. When you see it in a comedian the first few times, it can be funny. But that's literally all she did. That was her quote unquote comedy, was just beating up on herself all the damn time. Revan, I'd say no. There's something, bear in mind, I'm not saying doing a self-depreciating humor is bad. Like that, if you can't do self-depreciating humor. The problem is most comedians, when in male, female, doesn't matter, when they do self-depreciating movies, or movies, Jesus, when they do self-depreciating humor, it's done in moderation. They're not constantly punching down on themselves for their entire act. It's not their entire shtick. They will have moments where they do self-depreciating humor in and amongst their other routines of what they're talking about. So when you do it in moderation with proper timing, it works very well and can consistently work very well for a comedian. The problem is it's all she did. That, and yes, as someone said, she talked about her pussy in horrible ways so much that everybody was like, bitch, shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear about your smelly cooch. We don't need to hear about it anymore, because that's all she fucking talked about. All she talked about was how terrible her pussy smelled, or looked, or tasted, or felt, or whatever. And people were like, bitch, I don't want to think about your nasty ass crusty coochie. But she didn't listen, and we see where it got her.
And eventually, it all came crashing down in the kind of slow-motion train wreck that was less a spectacular implosion and more like death by 1,000 cuts. So join me, your humble drinker, as we explore Crash and Burn, the Amy Schumer story. Schumer was born in 1981 in New York's Upper East Side, the daughter of wealthy Jewish and Protestant parents. Her dad ran a successful furniture business, and the family enjoyed a pretty cushy life for much of Amy's childhoods. The good times weren't to last though. The business eventually went bankrupt when she was 9 and her parents divorced a couple of years later. Oh wow, another troubled celebrity whose parents divorced at a young age. What are the odds, eh? Anyway, Amy soon discovered an interest in the performing arts and ended up studying theatre in college before eventually drifting into comedy. By the mid-2000s, she was a regular on the New York stand-up circuit, and in 2007, she made it to 4th place on the reality show Last Comic Standing, where she impressed the judges with her mixture of dark, raunchy humour and ironic self-reflection.
Oh, really? she was. I remember, like, I've seen clips of Last Comic Standing. Like, when did he say that was?
7, she made it to 4th place as a regular on the New York stand-up circuit, and in 2007, she made it to 4th place on the reality show.
I have actually seen some of that show. Cramps, thank you. Thank you, Cramps. I vaguely remember that show, Last Comic Standing. I didn't realize that's how she got her start. Was on Last Comic Standing.
Show Last Comic Standing, where she impressed the judges with her mixture of dark, raunchy humour and ironic self-reflection. Positioned as a young up-and-coming talent with a sharp edge, she was soon booking guest roles in shows like 30 Rock, Curb Your Enthusiasm and Girls, but Amy had her sights set on bigger things. Her 2012 comedy special, Mostly Sex Stuff, was what really put her on the map as a major player,
Thank you,
and it basically
Baconator.
set the tone for her entire sense of humour going forward. Crude, dark, self-deprecating and weirdly obsessed with the workings of her own body. Oh my goodness, a female comedian whose entire act revolves around sex and dating. Whatever will they think of next? I mean, personally, watching an out-of-shape 30-something New Yorker spending 2 hours talking about what her vagina looks and smells like sounds about as funny as a cancer diagnosis, but each to their own, I guess. Comedy truly is subjective, and somehow hers was working, big time. Amy was soon being positioned as the next big thing, more edgy and daring than her contemporaries, willing to push boundaries and make fun of herself, and pretty soon she made the transition from guest star to movie star. 2015's Trainwreck, where she played a drunken, promiscuous party girl that was basically just a toned-down version of herself, was well received by critics and went on to make $140 million at the box office against a $35 million budget. By now, Amy...
Wait, when did this come out? Hang on, when did he say it came out?
Movie star. 2015's
2015. So yeah, 2015, that was when I'm pretty sure there was a pretty good running trend back in 2015 of like of movies where you get the irresponsible piece of shit that, you know, it is just like at the start of the movie, they're you know, like in her case, the party girl or the womanizer or the scumbag or, you know, the lazy son of a bitch or whatever. And it's like that, like the whole starting low and then learning and finding out about themselves and becoming better people. Like that, like the early 2010s was big for that kind of film where they were basically doing like the growth stories of characters where they started out fucking horrible and then they would grow over the course of the movie and then they would end the movie them being so much of a better person than themselves. And given her humor, yeah, it sounds like she fit right into that fucking stereotype back then.
Against a $35 million budget. By now, Amy was riding high with a string of successful comedy shows, TV appearances, favourable news coverage, and a promising film career. What could possibly go wrong? Well, quite a lot as it turned out. The warning signs were there as early as 2011 during the roast of Charlie Sheen, where she made a joke about the recent death of Ryan Dunn in front of his best friend Steve-O, and well, it didn't exactly go down like she hoped.
And I know you must have been thinking it could have been me, and I know we were all thinking, why wasn't it?
Jesus Christ, if even Steve...
At his face. Look at his face. Holy shit. I forgot about her making this fucking joke. Like, yeah. The purpose of a roast is to make fun of people. Yes. That is the purpose. But yeah, I don't think... I'm pretty sure it had not even been a year since his death, and that was a friend of his. And, like, Steve-O was going through... shit. I'm pretty sure I could be mistaken about this. Wasn't Steve-O in recovery at this point? Like, I believe that the death of Ryan Dunn kind of gave him like a wake-up call, and he started trying to get his life back together. He was like knocking off the booze, knocking off the drugs, and was like really trying to get his life back on track. And, like, yeah, it's a roast. You're supposed to make fun of people there, but there are lines And she just decided to leapfrog way over that line with a rocket shoved up her cooch. It's like, no. Like, what? That's not comedy. That's not roasting someone. That's being cruel. That's just being flat out fucking cruel.
If even Steve-O doesn't see the funny side, you know you've fucked up. But okay, fine, every comedian has an off day, I guess. Her first real mistake was one that many celebrities have fallen.
Scary God, I think the intervention that you may be referring to was for Bam. Bam was the one that, like, his drug and alcohol problem was leagues above Steve-O's. And I think that may be who you're thinking of that held an intervention, who they held an intervention for. And they've done it several times. Like, they've had to, like, they had to jump through hoops to get him to film Jackass. They've held numerous interventions for him. Like, Bam was a fucking train wreck. Far beyond Steve-O.
Every comedian has an off day, I guess. Her first real mistake was one that many celebrities have fallen victim to over the years. Politics. She'd always been outspoken about her political views, but during the 2016 presidential race, she really kicked it into high gear. At a show in Tampa, Florida, Amy decided to take a break from talking about her vagina to go on an extended rant about how much she hated the Orange Man and how everyone needed to vote for Hillary Clinton instead because she said so, prompting boos from the audience and causing hundreds of people to walk out.
It was just cool to hear one guy who doesn't seem like a psychopath, why he would want to vote for that orange assaulting fake college started.
You fucking kidding me.
You are made of stupid.
Yeah, comedians can do political humor. Comedians have done and will continue to do political humor. You don't do, like, that wasn't even a joke. That's the thing. She didn't even try to make it a joke. She just basically turned it into a micro campaign event. That's the overriding thing, is if she tried to turn it into a joke. Because people have done that. Comedians actually did do that. During this time, during 2016, during the time of Trump, comedians have used the things that came out in regards to Donald Trump, like various things, and they have done humor with it. They have made jokes about it. They have. And it works. That wasn't a joke. She wasn't making a joke. She was making a micro-political speech. Therein lies the difference. She wasn't trying to be funny. She was campaigning. You're a comedian. You are literally a court jester. Your job is to make people laugh, not to stand for your favorite political opponent or your favorite political individual. Dance, monkey, fucking dance. That's your job. That's what people pay you to do.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Fucking hell, man. I'm not even a comedian, and even I understand how to read a room. Shit like that might have played well in New York or LA, but in a red state like Florida, it went down about as well as a stripper at a funeral. Not only had she waded into the middle of the most divisive election in living memory and alienated half her audience in the process, but the cracks were beginning to show in her comedy armor as well. People were beginning to notice that there wasn't a whole lot of variety in her comedy shows. Every one of them was just her talking about getting blackout drunk, sleeping with lots of guys, going on awkward dates, and how disgusting she found her own body. This all culminated with 2017's Leather special on Netflix, which was an unmitigated disaster, rehashing the same tired material she'd been using for years, horribly delivered with no sense of timing or enthusiasm, and getting brutal reviews from audiences and critics.
Blocking out
I blacking out? Blacked out. Blackout. Pussies. Pussy. My pussy. My pussy. Blacked out. Pussy.
The complaint
Yeah. Yeah, Carrot, I vaguely remember that. I wonder if Draker's gonna bring that up. That Netflix actually got rid of the rating system because of her fucking special.
and backlash against her were mounting, but weirdly for someone who made a career out of self-deprecating humour, Amy turned out to be surprisingly thin-skinned when it came to criticism directed at her. You might think this would have been a good opportunity to reflect on her creative choices and maybe change course a little, but nope, her ego just wouldn't allow for it. Her standard response was to dismiss her critics as haters, misogynists and right-wing chuds who just couldn't handle her political views, instead of acknowledging that maybe her act was becoming kind of
Oh my god, the alt-right organized trolls attack. Yeah. Well, you basically can just discount, like, the moment anybody says this, you know they're coping. They're coping and seething and trying desperately to hide the fact that they fucking failed abysmally, that they're washed up, that basically they don't know what the fuck they're doing. The minute you start arguing the alt-right organized trolls, like at this point, honestly, if you see someone say, "Oh, this is because of the alt-right," or if you say this is because of the alt-left, and you say like alt-right trolls, alt-left trolls, you can pretty much discount what they say. Because it means that they're coming up with excuses for why they failed. Or why something they said is incredibly stupid. This is literal, the whole alt-right thing has literally turned into, it's gone down the meaningless route with, along with Nazi, along with racism, along with every istophobia thing. It's gone right there with all the rest of that, words that used to have fucking meaning and now were absolutely meaningless. And bearing in mind, alt-right and alt-left were barely had any meaning to begin with. Bear that in mind. Like, the whole concept of alt-right and alt-left was like, it was holding on by its fingernails from the inception of having any legitimate meaning to them. Very quickly, it, like, the fingernails broke off and it went flying off into the fucking abyss. And so now, it's like, and it has been for a long fucking time, anytime somebody goes, it's the alt-left, it's the alt-right, now, they're literally just making an excuse. The alt-right trolls, the alt-left trolls, it's right there along with the review bombing shit. It's all meaningless. It's all excuses. Doesn't mean anything anymore. It just means that they're coping like hell, and they won't admit that they fucked up.
Stale and predictable. She was also remarkably tetchy about the body she'd spent so long making fun of. After spending years advocating for more plus-sized women in media, Glamour magazine rewarded her by including her in their Chic at Any Size article, which caused her to get all pissy at the implication she was overweight. I mean...
What? Hang on, back up. Chieftain? Basically, people like the shall we say, the extreme side of the left, kind of like Hassan. What are actually extremists used to be called, like, alt-left. The people that are severely left, and they were the alt-left, that they were, like, shoving LGBT stuff down people's throat, shoving socialism down people's throat, the activists. That would, the activists for those things, that would have basically been like the alt-left, when they're actually extremist activists.
Article, which caused her to get all pissy at the implication she was overweight. I mean, no offense, but have you ever looked in a fucking mirror? You've also got to appreciate the irony there. Hey, there's nothing wrong with being plus-sized. In fact, it should be celebrated. But don't ever call me that. It all just painted the impression of a prickly, arrogant, egotistic...
And by the way, doesn't that just kill the whole body positivity movement. It's like, yeah, we should have body positivity, because what she was doing was this is with the whole body positivity thing. They're trying to, that's basically where obese people or ugly people are basically trying to say, you have to love me, and try and basically say, I'm better than the pretty people, and the pretty people are the ugly ones. But when people actually recognize reality and go, no, you're a fat, ugly piece of shit, and actually call them that, how dare you? I'm an activist for body positivity. And it's basically overweight or fat women that actually hate themselves. They actually hate themselves, and so they have to go on this body positivity crusade. Her, in the case of Amy Schumer, where she is not like morbidly obese like the fat activist we saw that couldn't even fit in a police car when she got arrested, so she had to get thrown into like a shipping van to get hauled off to jail. She's basically trying to feel better about herself and make it seem like she's the attractive one by saying, oh, you should embrace body positivity of these morbidly obese women. They're actually beautiful. You should embrace body positivity and think of it, and fat is beautiful. So these fat bitches that I think I look better are actually beautiful. And the minute she gets lumped into them, it's like, wait a minute, no, I'm not. I'm supposed to be beautiful. You're supposed to be sympathetic to them. You're supposed to be, giving them their props when not actually believing it. Why are you lumping me into this? It's basically ugly bitches looking at uglier bitches, trying to focus the attention on them and make that and try and do the sympathy bit on them to make them seem like they're so much better person, while also trying to make it seem like they're more attractive than that. But the minute the eyeball gets turned on them and go, oh yes, you're beautiful at any size, honey. It's like, no, but you're not supposed to say that about me. I'm supposed to be the ideal woman. I'm supposed to be beautiful without being fat. Yeah. Like I heard someone say the next time someone what was it? What's the expression is? Like the next time someone tries to pull the body positivity thing, like, like someone starts talking about body positivity, just look at them and go, you're right, honey. Big is beautiful. You go, girl. And just watch the woman in question go, huh? Like, turn the body positivity thing on them and watch them just lose their shit.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with being plus-sized. In fact, it should be celebrated. But don't ever call me that. It all just painted the impression of a prickly, arrogant, egotistical celebrity who was far removed from her self-deprecating comedy persona. Worse was soon to come though, when it was revealed that a lot of the jokes from her comedy routines seemed to have been plagiarized from other comedians like Tammy Pescatelli, Kathleen Madigan, Wendy Liebman, and Patrice O'Neill, amongst others. Before you could say talentless hack, YouTube was awash with compilation videos showing Amy's jokes and comedy skits and the material they seem to have been inspired by. This is one of the big no-nos in the comedy world. You never steal other people's stuff, and if you happen to, even by accident, you absolutely have to come clean and apologize. Once again though, Amy's
to that degree, I could be mistaken about this. If I am, sorry. I thought I once heard that like Robin Williams actually used someone else's material. I think it was Robin Williams. It was one of the OGs of comedy. I want to say it was Robin Williams, that he actually did use some of someone else's material, but he, I believe, actually came clean about it. Like, it was like back, I think, during the early days of his comedy, during the early days of his stand-up, I think he did use, yeah, there you go. Yeah, he admitted to it. Like, he didn't try to hide it. Like, he admitted to it. Like, in his early days of comedy, he would kind of like take in other people's comedy and like reuse it for his own comedy. But he admitted to it in when he was first starting off on the stand-up circuit. Yeah, exactly. It's like maybe, yeah, it may not have been intentionally, but like he did do it, and he did admit to it. Like, yeah, I would hear other people's bits, and it would just come out in my comedy as well. But he admitted to it. He didn't try to hide it like she did.
Accident, you absolutely have to come clean and apologise. Once again though, Amy's response was just to deny everything and dismiss her critics as sexists and losers. It hadn't really worked before, and with the mountain of evidence piling up against her, it definitely wasn't working now. Public opinion was shifting rapidly. The magazine articles that used to fawn over her were now openly critical of her career and questioning her decline in popularity. All wasn't well on the movie front either. Her next big project, I Feel Pretty, about a fat woman who gets brain damage and is convinced she's now slim and attractive, fuck it, just go with it, was supposed to be a...
That's not even original. Oh my god. You know where they stole that plot from, right? Anybody know where they stole the plot from? Oh, good. Bingo, Derek. Well, you got it halfway. It's not, there's no like what women want thing, but yeah, shallow hell. Exactly. Fucking exactly. She stole the idea from Shallow Hal. Granted, like you guys said, it's in reverse. It's in reverse because the whole concept with Shallow Hal is that Jack Black gets basically hypnotized by Tony Robinson. And I think it was Tony Robinson. I could be getting it wrong. He was like the motivational speaker that was big at the time. I think it was Tony Robinson. He gets hypnotized by him to see people's inner beauty. Tony Robbins. Thank you, Garrett. That's what it is. Tony Robbins. Yeah. He gets like hypnotized by Tony Robbins to see people's inner beauty, and he sees Gwyneth Paltrow, who's actually like a 350-pound fucking whale. But because he's hypnotized to see people's inner beauty, he sees Gwyneth Paltrow as Gwyneth Paltrow, slim and sexy. And like wants to date her, and only he sees that she's slim and sexy. And that's the plot of the movie, when she's actually a literal 350-pound whale. It's literally the reverse. This was literally the reverse Shallow Hal. So again, stole another idea.
Feel-good comeback that played to her self-deprecating humour, but instead provoked a storm of backlash with the unintended implication that women can only feel confident through self-delusion. The movie was absolutely lambasted by critics and audiences alike, and further damaged her comedy credentials. More and more she was beginning to look out of touch and, well, just not that funny anymore. Then there was the stuff that just made her look like a generally shitty human being, like willingly taking photos with fans on the street only to bitch about it later on social media to make herself seem like a victim of harassment, or openly bragging about sleeping with a guy who was so blackout drunk that he didn't even know what was happening to him. Flip the genders for a second there and just imagine how that...
Wow. Did I ever hear about that? I don't remember I heard about that. Yeah, how interesting that when a woman does this and it broadcasts it all over the fucking internet that she fucking date raped a guy, cause that's what it is. Like let's not fuck around. His face kind of started zicing like you can't focus. He's actually trying to see me from the side. Yeah. Literally broadcasting date rape, and not a fucking thing happened. Right. Like, and like, I'm not sure when this post was made, but it's not the first time we've seen this, where we've seen women in Hollywood, either in real life like this or on screen, basically rape a guy and no one says fucking boo about it. We're seeing it here with Amy Schumer, and I will bring up Wonder Woman 1985, I think it was. Yeah, believe her, that's where I was going too. Yeah, the Wonder Woman 1980, or was it 84? Was it 84? I couldn't remember if it was 84 or 85. Yeah, where Wonder Woman rapes a guy. It was that whole thing of the spirit of Steve Trevor goes into a guy. So it's Steve Trevor's mind. It's another guy's body. She fucks him, but it's not actually Steve Trevor's body. She's just seeing Steve Trevor because of, I don't know, fucking magic or something, but he's not actually in that body. It's just his spirit. And she basically fucks this guy whose mind is not there. And everybody was like, oh, it's so beautiful. She's with Steve Trevor. And then a lot of people started pointing out, oh, that's not actually Steve Trevor. That's like his spirit or his mind or whatever. That's not his body. She just fucked a guy without his permission. She literally just raped a guy. Kind of like what Amy Schumer is broadcasting that she did here. And what happened? If a guy had posted this, like Drake, I'm repeating what Draker said, of course. If a guy had done this, there would be screams from the rooftop of him spending life in prison, of him being registered as a sex offender for life. And the accusations alone would have probably destroyed him. The disparity between what men do and get busted for, and women doing the very same thing and getting applause is fucking disgusting. Absolutely fucking disgusting.
Know what was happening to him. Flip the genders for a second there and just imagine how that must look.
Here it is.
The cumulative effect of all these high-profile setbacks and negative publicity was a career downturn that makes Brie Larson's look like a controlled landing. She was still bagging the occasional movie role, but usually as a supporting actor in low-budget slop that nobody cared about. The glory days of Trainwreck were long behind her, and she wasn't a bankable star anymore. She was still making the occasional TV show and comedy special, but the fire and momentum was long gone, the prestige of her public persona tarnished beyond repair. She'd gone from one of the leading voices in female comedy to a virtual pariah, disliked by audiences, distrusted by her peers, and discredited by movie studios. Amy Schumer is the perfect example of a celebrity who can dish it out but can't take it. A woman who founded her career on pushing boundaries but couldn't handle it when they started to push back. She was always happy to make jokes about everything and everyone around her, but in the end, the biggest joke of all was on her. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
A very well-deserved fall, in my opinion. I never found Amy Schumer funny. I never found her humor funny at all. Couldn't have happened to a shittier person.